The Children's Aid Society is currently recruiting foster families. Joining me now to speak about this important program are Rita and Stephanie. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Well, thank you for being here. And let's start with a general overview of the program. What exactly is the foster care program and how does it work?
So foster care provides a temporary, secure, and safe place, nurturing home for children who may have to temporarily be removed from their family home until a more permanent plan can be put in place. But that permanent plan depends upon different circumstances. That could be return home, because we always try to reintegrate children back home. But if they can't go back home, then we look at possibly returning to kin, for children to go into customary care. If they cannot go home, then we look at legal custody or adoption. The length of time that a child comes into care varies from circumstances to circumstance. So a child can be in care for a few days to a few weeks, or up to a few months, or even longer. But we do care for children from birth all the way up to the age of 21.
Wow. And it sort of goes without saying the important role that these foster families, even though you mentioned that they are temporary, but not only that 0 to 21 age is such formative years, but you're meeting these kids in these really circumstances that they do need that extra hand. So I said it goes without saying, but we are going to talk about it. How important are foster families in this process and for these kids?
They're really, really important for sure, and what we look for in foster parents are people that can provide a safe and loving and consistent and structured environment for these children and youth. Because when we talk about children who are removed from their own family environments, we want to bring them into a place that's safe for them. And when we talk about safety, we don't just talk about safe physical space. We talk about a space that's safe culturally, identity safe, religious safe, and all of that, right? So in order for the child or youth to feel that they're welcomed by those people, a consistent and structured environment is really, really important, because that goes with the safety aspect, right? So if children do have consistent routines, if they have a caregiver who is consistent in their life, they would feel more that they can grow their skills, they can accomplish different things, because they always know that there is someone by their side. So we're looking for ordinary people. We're looking for families who can provide a loving and safe environment for kids and youth. We are also looking for families that may identify from a different background as well, because our youth do identify from different racial, identity, and religious backgrounds. So we want to make sure that we're matching those youth with foster families the best to our abilities.
Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about, I'm sure there's never enough foster families for a program like this. Unfortunately, I'm sure that there's always kids that are in need. So what is the need right now for foster families within the program?
Great question. We are needing foster parents, or we're recruiting foster parents to be able to care for children of all ages, from 0 right up to the age of 21. We're looking for foster parents who may be of diverse cultural background, because we try to do, if a child does need to come into care, we try to do the best possible matching. In fostering, what fostering is like in 2022 is very different from when I first started. We understand that most foster parents are both working. So if you can't care for a foster child full time, can you maybe help provide support to another foster family? Are you able to provide weekend relief or evening relief? Or are you able to help provide tutoring for a student who may not be in school full time? Help another foster family drive a young lad to an activity that they may not be able to take that child to. So fostering looks very, very different in 2022, and we recognize that.
Wonderful. So lots to consider in terms of potential foster parents. You both alluded to some of what you look for. I do want to elaborate a little bit more on that, though. I know our viewers will get a chance to meet two wonderful ladies that are foster parents, and they'll sort of tell you that, we're nothing special. We're just people that want to give back. So maybe talk to me a little bit about that. I'm sure there's viewers at home that have maybe thought about fostering, that maybe are now thinking about it, but they may be intimidated a little bit. So talk to me a little bit about what qualities. It doesn't. You don't have to be, a perfect family. It's just somebody that wants to give back. But talk to me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So we assess families from different backgrounds, right? And what we assess mostly for is basically families who who serve the purpose of supporting these children and youth until they're able to reintegrate back to their own families, right? Because as Steph mentioned earlier, this is temporary in most cases, right? So we are looking for families who are able and willing to work with bio families for the purpose of reintegrating kids back home. We're also looking for foster families to be part of the professional team as well, because it's not only us that's going to be in their lives constantly, they're also going to need to communicate with different community members such as doctors, lawyers, court, so they need to make those connections. They need to be able to be out there advocating for the kids that are in their care, because those kids are not going to be able to do that on their own, right? So in collaboration with their worker, as well as these community members, that's where we look for that joint collaboration to help support one another. Also, something really important is that we do have a lot of youth in care that maybe foster care is the long-term option for them, and then they reach independence as well. So we look at what is it that these foster parents can help that youth with in terms of building on their skills to be able to reach those independent living skills as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so talk to me about the process. So somebody is watching right now, they've thought about it, they've talked to their family about it, they're interested in signing up to be a foster family. What is the process like to register?
Okay, in order to complete an assessment for foster care, we complete an assessment known as a SAFE assessment. In order to complete the SAFE assessment, it takes anywhere between 8 to 12 months from beginning to end. During that process, it will consist of several interviews. It will require background checks and gathering of lots of paperwork for the ministry requirements.
Excellent. And one thing you mentioned, Rita, in your last answer that I do want to just elaborate on, you mentioned, of course, many of the things within the community that foster parents have to, navigate, because the children can't. Talk to me about the support, though, that they do receive from CAS, because obviously you're not dropping off the kid and this is your job now.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that support.
That's a really, really good question, because we don't want foster families to feel like they're on their own in this, right? So there is a lot of internal support that we provide. So the child protection workers are always there to help families navigate things, but we also have child and family workers that go into the homes to either support the family themselves or to support the youth in that home. We also have different community services that we regularly tap into them to help support us. So we have I don't want to mention names right now, because I'm sure I'm going to miss a lot of them, but we are very much connected to our community partners as well, and we do have programs together where we can support one another. A lot of the times, as Steph mentioned, because we are trying to see if families can even provide some hours tutoring a child or a youth, or providing transportation to school and from school, for example, if the full-time foster family works full-time, for example, right? So we hire also volunteer drivers that help us with that. So that's something that we can provide to the family if they work on full-time basis. We know that stay-at-home foster parents, that's almost not a thing anymore, and we don't have many stay-at-home foster parents nowadays, so we're often trying to see what other ways and better ways we can have to support those families that work full-time but also want to support children and youth.
Wonderful. So we talked a little bit about the process of how people can become a foster parent, but how does it all start? If someone is watching right now, they want to maybe register, or they just want to find out more information than this interview. So how can people get in touch or register?
Absolutely. So the first step is to call our intake department, and once we get the call from intake, a worker will be assigned to the family. So the family will receive a phone call from the worker to introduce themselves and to let them know that they will be invited to an information session to come on and learn about what fostering is like in 2022, what are the kind of things that we're looking for, and it will help families kind of understand what they can offer as well. And speaking of info sessions, we actually do have an upcoming info session that's happening on November 21st this year, so it would be a great way for families, if they're interested, to just contact our intake department, and then from there we start the process that way.
Fantastic. Well, thank you once again, both of you, for joining us to talk about this important program, and for the work that you do helping children and families and foster families and all the support you provide. So thank you for joining us. Best of luck with recruitment. People can get in touch at the information provided to start the process or find out more, and tune in tomorrow on Community Matters, when you will have the opportunity to meet two foster families who share their experiences. So stay tuned for that, and thank you once again, Rita and Stephanie.
Thank you for having us.